What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down some big news involving Tesla, what's happening with President Trump as we have some new announcements, what you should be watching for on the charts going into tomorrow as we're seeing some big news. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposits $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 25 in total. And deposit $5,000, you're guaranteed 60 free stocks. You also qualify for an 8.1% APY in uninvested cash, and the offer ends as soon as June 3rd. Anyways, as far as the market's going, I just wanted to mention that when we look at the way Tesla is moving, right now we have this nice looking double top like structure that has been developing, but we're going to be watching to see if we could try to break these highs or not, or do we end up forming a lower high to come back down. Now, I do want to mention that we did see Tesla in the market sell off in the morning because of the news about how Moody has downgraded the US's credit rating. So we were expecting some kind of downside move. I predicted Tesla would see 333, then a small bounce, but then I gave you guys a warning about how Tesla could reject near 340 and start dumping. As of right now, that has not happened. And if anything, we closed above 340 instead, which is a very, very good sign. So if we could hold this 340 area, there's a chance Tesla might try to go a little bit higher, especially since the whole market's trying to bounce and because the Moody news did not actually cause the market to tank too hard. We did start off with the pullback. We did see SPY hit our targets, but instead of continuing to lose them to dump more, the market rebounded and made a full recovery, which goes to show the market is very resilient and even stronger than what I was expecting. So with that being said, what do I think is going to happen from this point on? We'll talk about this in just a second. Just know that when we look at SPY, the QQQ, and many others, we're still looking bullish on the larger time frames. Even Tesla's holding up very, very nicely, still looks quite decent on the daily chart. And on the weekly chart, Tesla is still getting bought back up. So we're still filling in balances. We're still forming a nice cup right over here. Or this could even be like a giant, if you kind of like zoom out like this, a giant cup and handles. This could also be like the giant cup, and this could be like a handle, however you want to look at it. It still looks bullish nonetheless. It's still bullish looking for now. And to really be bullish, though, to truly continue to break out, right, we want to see this hold above 350. Although Tesla hasn't really done that yet, we are range bound right now between the 350 and 333 area. But for the time being, the chart is a little bit more bullish as we're trying to push right back up towards the mid 340s, if not the 350s. So I'm going to break down more details about the charts and some levels to watch for. Just know that the market in Tesla is favoring upside still. We're still making higher highs and higher lows. And even though we dipped a bit, we got bought back up for the most part, at least today. So I'll talk more about the levels in just a couple of minutes. I first want to talk about some news and what President Trump just said. So for news about Tesla, Ross Gerber is saying that he has dumped Tesla stock while calling for a collapse of shares. That is some big news that's coming out because of what we're seeing, at least so far. If anything, we saw them shred more than 26,000 shares based off their 13F filing reports. And that's despite the fact that we're still seeing, a very, very nice uptrend so far. Now, Gerber did mention that he doesn't think FSD is fully developed yet. He thinks people are not buying Teslas and that Tesla's facing stiff competition in China, which is why he thinks there's going to be some downside potential. Even if he is correct about that, right, at the end of the day, it's just another buying opportunity. And I just want to say that, I do agree to some extent that there are going to be risks for another downwards move for the markets. It's just that I don't know if we're ready yet, and I don't think we're ready yet to get there. And I'll talk more about that in just a second. So for other pieces of news, when you look at the sales data, I know this is a little small, a little hard to see, but you guys can see Tesla's right over here. Their sales are down, whereas the majority of companies are seeing their sales up. At least in the US, we're seeing Tesla getting lots of criticism for this. But keep in mind that this isn't just for EVs. They're showing this chart for all brands of them, and then it also accounts for other models. But I just wanted to say that although Tesla's sales are declining and their market share is going down, at least in their markets, there are hardships that Tesla has to overcome, and we'll have to see what happens with the robotaxi event and other factors. With high interest rates and things like that, there are still some challenges for Tesla, but there's lots of excitement as we approach the robotaxi launch in Austin. So I still think the share price could hold up at least for now. Now, Mizuho said that Tesla is going to likely outperform the market. That's what's happening so far. It's been happening for a couple of weeks, even though recently Tesla's been kind of flat. The price-price ratio is still elevated because Tesla has some strength still. Tuesdays are green about 52% of the time historically, and we tend to see more volatility at noon and also at the second to last hour of the day. Also, remember, June tends to be a bullish month. 80% of the time we're green in June historically. That's going to be very strong for Tesla. Now, when it comes to other pieces of news, I just wanted to say that the thing about Tesla is that we're bullish so long as we don't lose 333, because what's happening is we're just continuing to ride these EMAs higher. And as long as we do that, we could be looking for an attempt to go a little bit higher for like the 340s. We're still doing a fantastic job at holding up. So I do think that Tesla could try to push, and so could the overall market. And I'll break down exactly why that's significant. And we could continue to push despite the fears that still exist. So you have very intelligent people like Jamie Dimon. You guys are very, very smart. Many people out there believe that the market is due for a big correction. There's lots of risks. And I just want to say that they are correct about this. You guys are correct if you do believe the market is due for a correction. But there's a saying that goes, the market could remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So what does that mean? Well, the market could continue to just run and run and run and hurt shorts in the most illogical fashion, even if you do believe there's going to be risks of higher inflation or factors like that. But the main thing about the way the market moves is algorithms, technicals, and then also what the intentions are of market makers that try to squeeze shorts and try to do what's best for their own positions, especially when they're trying to hedge and such. So that's the reason why, when you understand there's these big players behind the moves, right? They could do what they want to do, right? They could push the market even if we get bad news. They could dump the market on good news. It's a very, very irrational market, and that's the reason why you want to be very careful. So yes, Jamie Dimon warning us about how the market is too complacent on the tariffs. He's expecting earnings to collapse. There's going to be some downside basically coming, is what he's been telling us. He is logical to say that, of course, but we're not ready for some kind of dump immediately. And the market could still push, even though we're still getting lots of news about tariffs and factors like that. So what news is coming out about tariffs? President Trump did mention that he's not happy with the way a lot of countries are negotiating with the USA. And he said that he is going to unilaterally increase tariffs on lots of different countries if they don't come up with deals with the US. We have Scott Bessent saying the same thing. He's going to support President Trump because many of these countries are not negotiating in good faith. So that's some big news that's come out, that they could be raising tariffs again. And that is not the best of news, at least for the markets so far. But despite that, the market still remains resilient. So that's some news that came out. There's also been more talk from President Trump about what's happening in Europe. I have some quotes from him I'm going to read to you guys. So President Trump was going on about how he mentioned that he had a 2-hour call with Vladimir Putin and that he wants peace between Russia and Ukraine. He said lots of progress has been made during the call, and he spoke with many heads of the European nations. He also talked about how he's going to once again be attending an important meeting with Republicans, and that there's going to be big changes coming. Then President Trump went on about how, we need peace between Russia and Ukraine. There's big egos involved, and this is a European situation, and that he believes that both sides want peace and they will achieve it. He also talked about how, it's very important that he continues to do what he wants to do, and he went on about how both sides want to end the war. He also said he has a big announcement coming. He has a red line, but he's not going to be making the announcement yet. And then on top of that, he's not going to reveal exactly the specific details yet. He also talked about the possibility of raising sanctions on Russia, but that's what we're seeing so far. So that's the latest update on President Trump. He's now trying to negotiate between Russia and Ukraine. And then he has been threatening higher tariffs again if countries don't forge more deals. So keep that in mind. That is some new news. We had Bostic from the Fed talk about how he wants to see rates cut. I think this was bullish news for the markets. This is part of why the market was running. And then simultaneously, we also got some news from our yields, right? The yields are very, very high right now. We'll be watching to see what kind of shifts they make. Will we see the Fed cut rates to bring them down? Will we see President Trump say something to bring them down? We're not ready yet as the market remains bullish. A couple more things. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, May 20th. We have Barkin, Bostic, and Collins all giving speeches tomorrow. And we have some volatility that could come, especially when Bostic speaks. He's going to be speaking at about 9 o'clock a.m., so we'll see what he says. And then Kugler could also cause some volatility later on. Right now, the market is very greedy. We're seeing fear subsiding a little bit. And for now, the puts call option ratio is dipping as we're seeing hedging that's going on, which is pushing the market higher. Also, the VIX is dipping a bit. We do have a gap to fill, so that's bullish for the markets. And then for earnings, we have the Home Depot and lots of retail like Target and TJ Maxx on Wednesday. So keep that in mind. Anyways, so what do I see for Tesla stock? Well, honestly, guys, I just wanted to say that if you want to be really bullish on Tesla, so although we are still technically on an uptrend, right? To be really bullish, really, really bullish, you want to break and hold above 350. If Tesla holds 350, we're going to be looking really bullish and we could be pushing for the 360s pretty easily. That's going to be a very, very key level. If you're bearish on Tesla, you want to see us basically reject and lose 333. If we lose this low right over here, then Tesla could be shifting directions and start dipping for 325. Okay. So that's going to be the more bearish case. But what is my prediction? Well, honestly, notice that when you zoom out of Tesla, we're riding our 20 EMA up very nicely. So we like to hit this the either the yellow or the green line. We hit the yellow line, bounced, came close to the green line, we bounced. We're touching the green line, we're trying to bounce. So that's acting as our support. Now we're going to be watching to see is there going to be a shift in Tesla or not, but I don't think we're ready to start like dumping. I think that we're going to see what the move is. So I do think we go a little bit higher from here. We could be looking for like 345 or so. But then we're going to be watching, can we take out 350s to remain bullish, or do we come short and then start to kind of consolidate in this range to start dipping a little bit more? So I'll be watching that very, very closely. Do we end up breaking 350 to be bullish, or do we come short? For now, we're just going to focus on the move tomorrow. I do think we go a little higher for like the mid 340s, maybe even higher than that as the market tries to push. But then if we can't break 350, we could just remain range bound for some time like this before we see a shift. So I'll be watching that very closely on Tesla. For tomorrow, look for a push for 345, maybe a little bit above that. Then if we can't break 350, we should consolidate for now. So please keep that in mind. I do anticipate some upside for Tesla. As far as SPY is going, we're looking bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows. Now, if you want to be a bear, okay? If you want to be a bear, I just want to say that you have to be very careful because when we zoom out of SPY, first off, we're going to go to like the weekly chart. The weekly looks bullish. Looking at the PPO, looking at our indicators, we are still looking quite bullish. We could be looking for SPY to push closer to 600. When we look at the daily charts, we're looking bullish. We look like we want to be going closer to 600 on the daily and the weekly. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're looking bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows. So we're doing a fantastic job, at least thus far. Now, if you want to be a bear, just hypothetically, if you want to be a bear, you need to see a shift in market structure. Right now, this is what we're doing: higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. This is what the market's doing right now. If you want to turn into a bear, if you want to see the market collapse, you want to see SPY lose 588, make a lower high, and then start dipping and see a very, very big shift in our direction. We also have not lost our 20 EMA or our key supports yet, so we're still doing a good job. The news involving Moody did dump the market to some extent. I was talking about how there's going to be a test of 585, then a bounce. That was my prediction. And then I said once we rebound, we're going to be watching for a lower high to start dumping. That's what I said could likely happen. But instead of dumping, we actually got bought back up. We didn't get that rejection we were looking for. We didn't end up coming down like this. Instead, we just made a full recovery. This means that SPY is still bullish. When you look at the bigger time frames, you look at it right now, it's still bullish and there's no sign of a shift in market direction yet. So we are favoring, as long as we don't lose 590 tomorrow, we're still favoring the upwards direction, try to push for 597.5 to 600 as we look a bit more bullish. If we lose 588, I could turn bearish, but we haven't done that. We're getting bought back up. So we're favoring that even if we get a small dip, we could be bouncing for the 597.5 to 600 area for more upside. For the QQQ, we're also doing a great job as well at holding up. Now, if we end up losing the support right over here at this 515 area, if we fail here, we could be looking for a dip all the way down towards below 510. If we're bullish, however, we could be looking for an attempt to go higher. What do you see on the QQQ? The fact that we held our 20 EMA at 515, we're making higher highs and higher lows, and we're still breaking out, favoring 525 or so for more upside. So if you're bullish on the QQQ, we're favoring 525 plus. If you're bearish on the QQQ, you want to see us essentially reject and end up losing the 515 area to start dipping below 510. My guts tells me about the QQQ that this is still bullish for now. Okay, although there's a slight bearish divergence developing, we're going to try to push as long as we're above 520 for 525 or above. As of right now, we look more bullish looking at these imbalances, and we're still continuing to pump. Now, we could shift directions later on. It's still possible we pump to like 525 then dump, but there's no confirmation of the dump yet. We're just getting bought back up. So we we just have to follow the price action. Another thing is look at the VIX, right? The VIX is rejecting right here. It gapped up and it's just been dumping, dumping, dumping to fill this gap. We haven't fully filled the gap yet, so it might continue to fall, which is another bullish sign for stocks. For others out there, we have ES. I think we're favoring 6,000. If we lose 59.30, I will turn more bearish. As long as we're making higher highs and higher lows, though, we're favoring the low 6,000s. We'll see if we get a rejection or not. But I do think we go a little bit higher on ES, looking at the current setup. There is a bearish divergence developing, so be a little bit careful, but we look more bullish. On NQ, we're looking bullish. As long as we don't lose 21,300, we're still bullish. Okay, we dipped only to make a full recovery. As long as we don't lose 21,300, we're favoring 21,600, which is this high right over here, which would take us up towards the next wicks, which is where we have a tough resistance next. 21,600 is likely coming next, and we'll see, do we get a rejection there or not to turn back down? We'll just have to give this some time. For Bitcoin, we're also trading sideways here. We have 101,000 as our support, and we have 106,000 as our resistance. We're kind of going back and forth like this, so we'll just have to give this some time. We'll see if we continue to pump. So give it some time as Bitcoin looks more bullish. Tesla, once again, is looking bullish. As long as we don't lose 333, we're favoring 345 and maybe even the higher 340s. But to be really bullish, you want to break 350. We haven't done that yet. So I still think that there's potential to go a bit higher. Then we'll see if we trade sideways. Overall, there's potential nonetheless. Nvidia had a flag I was watching. We need to lose 132 to start dumping. As long as we're above that, we're actually favoring 138 plus, so we still look more bullish. On Aapl, so long as we don't end up losing 207, we're favoring a decent consolidation. I do think we could be testing 210 and then kind of consolidate between 210 and 207. If 207 fails us, we could be dipping more. If we break 210, we could push higher. I just see us trading sideways for now on Aapl. It's a little bit lackluster. I think that Netflix is more bullish because we bounced off our 20 EMA. As long as we're continuing to do this, we're favoring 1200 as our target. On MSTR, we're looking bullish. We're trying to rebound right here. As long as we don't lose 406, we're actually favoring upside for basically like the 415 to 420 area. On Celsius, we're looking decent. As long as we don't end up breaking past 38, I still think that we're kind of weak here. So watch 37.2 now. If that fails us, I could be looking for a move back down to the lower 36s. But then right over here, which is where this imbalance is over here, that's where we could be looking for a rebound. So keep that in mind. For Supermicro, we're showing some weakness. We're just consolidating. I do think we might be dipping to 42.8 before it continues to consolidate before we see a much larger move. Repellent here, if we end up breaking past the resistance right here at 129, we're looking for a bigger push. And if we end up losing 120, we're looking for a dip back down. I do think we could be pushing for 128, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For Ribbon, we have a bull flag. Excuse me, we have a flag forming, but there's very tough resistance near 16.5 to 16.75. So it is possible we go a little bit higher for like 16.5 or so, but then we could turn back down towards the lower 15.5 area. On SoFi, we have a high here. We came down, made a lower high, and we'll just have to see how it goes. So watch 14 to see if we break. If not, we could be turning back down to 13.4. On AMD had a high up here. We came down, made a lower high, and we're continuing to fall. I see us consolidating for some time. We'll see if we get a rejection back down below 113. On ARM, we have support at 130. If that doesn't hold, we're looking for a dip back down. If we break past 135, we're looking bullish. We could reject here and make lower highs as we consolidate, and we'll have to see if we end up dipping, so give that some time. For PayPal, we're making lower highs. So we had like a high up here, came down, with a lower high came down. We're continuing to do this. I think we just consolidate, and then I just see us trading sideways at 72, not really doing a whole lot for now. Coinbase is looking a little bit weaker, had a high here, came down, made a lower high. Might cool off towards like 260. We'll see if we bounce after that. Look for a small dip to 260. We'll see if buyers defend. Amazon's trying to push. There's that gap to fill below, but we haven't been able to lose support at 200. So this might try to push for 208, and we'll see how well we hold above 204. Might consolidate, but then there's going to be a risk of some downside if that fails. On Meta, we have support at 637. We'll see if that holds. If it does, we're looking for an attempt to get to 640. If we lose support right here at 624, we're looking for a dip lower. So I do think we could rebound a little bit for the 640s. So give this some time to develop. Microsoft is making higher lows right now, so it's favoring 460 to 462, and we'll see what kind of reaction we make. And then as far as Google goes, we're also doing a good job at holding up on Google, so we will see if buyers defend right over there or not, so give that some time as well. So make sure you watch that 162 area to see if we get some kind of rebound, and we'll give this the time it needs as time goes on. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Just know that right now the market's doing a fantastic job at holding up, and we're seeing a lot of buyers who are continuing to defend. So for stocks like Tesla, the buyers are very present, and there is still that upwards potential that remains. So I remain optimistic about Tesla and the others. As time goes on, we're still seeing buyers defending. So if you look at Tesla in particular, we're still seeing these buyers pushing us higher. So I do think we're going to be trying to look for 245 or so, or 345 or so, excuse me. And then we'll see what kind of reaction we get from there. I do think we push a little bit higher from here, and we'll see if we can break these highs or not. But be careful, guys, and watch your levels. I'll be back tomorrow morning with another update. Until then, have a good one and peace out.